The security camera captured it all, Karen Martinez storming through the broken gate at 2:47 a.m., her white designer tracksuit pristine in the moonlight as she dove into what she thought was just another neighbor's pool. But Emma Chen had been planning this moment for months, ever since Karen's last complaint got her pool permit revoked. The methylene blue dye mixed with the chlorine created the perfect trap, harmless but impossible to wash off for days. As Karen surfaced, sputtering and screaming, her entire body now a brilliant shade of blue, she had no idea this was just the beginning of Emma's elaborate revenge. What started as a simple trespassing incident was about to expose secrets that would destroy both their lives forever. The notification pinged on Emma Chen's phone at exactly 2:47 a.m., jolting her from restless sleep. She grabbed her device with trembling fingers, squinting at the bright screen. The security app showed a figure moving through her backyard, a familiar silhouette in expensive white activewear cutting through the darkness like a ghost. Finally, Emma whispered, her heart hammering against her ribs. Karen Martinez had taken the bait. Emma slipped from her bed, careful not to wake her sleeping husband David, and padded barefoot to the living room window. Through the sheer curtains, she could see her neighbor's blonde hair catching the moonlight as Karen fumbled with the pool gate latch. The motion sensor lights hadn't triggered yet. Emma had deliberately loosened the bulbs earlier that evening. 3 months of planning had led to this moment. 3 months since Karen's complaint to the city had shut down Emma's pool construction, claiming the project violated noise ordinances and property line regulations. 3 months of legal fees, delayed permits, and watching her dream backyard paradise sit half-finished like an abandoned construction site. But Karen had made one crucial mistake. She'd bragged to the entire neighborhood about her midnight swims in other people's pools during the community barbecue last weekend, laughing about how she'd tested the waters at the Hendersons' place and the Morrisons' new infinity pool. She'd called it her midnight pool tour, describing how refreshing it was to swim in different pools after her evening jogs. Emma's pool was the crown jewel of Willow Creek Estates, a custom-designed saltwater paradise with LED lighting and a built-in spa. Karen had been circling it like a shark for weeks, making passive-aggressive comments about property values and excessive displays of wealth. The gate latch clicked open with a soft metallic sound that seemed to echo in the still night air. Emma held her breath, watching Karen slip through the opening like a cat burglar. The woman moved with practiced confidence, clearly having done this before. She set her designer water bottle on the pool deck and began stretching, her movements fluid and deliberate. Emma's fingers found the remote control app on her phone. With a few taps, she activated the pool's circulation system and underwater lights. The water began to glow with an ethereal blue radiance that made Karen pause mid-stretch, her head tilting with curiosity rather than alarm. Fancy, Karen murmured to herself, loud enough for Emma's hidden microphones to pick up. Emma always was a show-off. The methylene blue dye had been Emma's stroke of genius. Food grade, completely harmless, but impossible to wash off skin for days. She'd dissolved it in the pool earlier that evening, timing the chemicals' integration perfectly with the filtration system. To the naked eye, the water looked normal, perhaps slightly more vibrant than usual, but nothing suspicious. The dye would only activate and bind to organic material upon contact with chlorine and body oils. Karen dipped her toe in the water, testing the temperature. Perfect, she breathed, then without hesitation, dove in with the grace of a former competitive swimmer. The transformation was instantaneous and breathtaking. As Karen surfaced, her platinum blonde hair had turned a shocking shade of electric blue, as if she'd been dipped in liquid sapphire. Her skin, every inch that had touched the water, now matched the vibrant hue. She looked like a creature from another world, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. What the hell? Karen's voice cracked as she stared at her hands, turning them over in the moonlight. The blue was deep and saturated, covering her arms like elaborate tattoos. She touched her face, her fingers coming away stained. What is this? What did you do? Emma smiled in the darkness, her phone recording everything through the security cameras. Karen spun in the water, panic replacing her earlier confidence. The dye had worked better than Emma had hoped. Karen looked like she'd bathed in blue paint, every surface of her skin transformed into a living work of art. Emma! Karen's scream shattered the suburban quiet. Emma Chen, you psychotic bitch! What did you put in your pool? Lights began flickering on in neighboring houses. The Morrisons' porch light illuminated their concerned faces peering through their front window. Mrs. Henderson's dog started barking from 3 houses down. The entire neighborhood was about to witness Karen's humiliation. Emma finally stepped onto her back patio, wrapping her silk robe around her shoulders like armor. She moved with deliberate calm, her expression innocent and concerned. "Karen, is that you? What are you doing in my pool at?" She checked her phone with theatrical precision. 2:52 in the morning. "You know exactly what I'm doing here." Karen struggled toward the pool's edge, her movements clumsy and desperate. The water around her swirled with tendrils of blue dye, creating abstract patterns that would have been beautiful under different circumstances. "What did you put in this water?" "This is assault." "This is trespassing," Emma interrupted, her voice steady and cold. "You're trespassing on my property, Karen. I have it all on camera. Breaking and entering, destruction of property. You forced open my gate latch." She held up her phone, the screen showing the security feed. "Should I call the police, or would you prefer to explain to the neighbors why you're swimming in someone else's pool wearing their pool chemicals?" Karen hauled herself out of the water, her expensive tracksuit now a sodden mess of blue fabric clinging to her transformed skin. She looked like an alien, a mythical creature, or perhaps a walking advertisement for extreme body modification. The effect was so complete, so surreal, that Emma almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "You planned this," Karen snarled, water dripping from her hair onto the pristine pool deck. "You knew I'd come here. You set a trap." "I protected my property," Emma replied. "The dye is methylene blue, completely harmless. It's used in medical procedures. But it will take about 3 days to wear off your skin. Maybe 4, depending on your skin type and how much you scrub." Karen's face twisted with rage, the blue skin making her expression even more dramatic. 3 days. I have the charity gala tomorrow night. The Preston wedding this weekend. You've ruined everything. You ruined my pool project, Emma shot back, her composure finally cracking. You cost me $50,000 in delays and legal fees. You turned my dream into a nightmare because you couldn't stand seeing someone else succeed. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed from the front yard. David's voice called out, "Emma. What's happening?" "The neighbors are calling." "I'm fine, honey," Emma called back, never taking her eyes off Karen. "Just dealing with an uninvited guest." Karen looked around desperately, as if searching for an escape route. Her designer water bottle sat abandoned on the pool deck, and her car keys were presumably in her pocket. But there was no hiding her condition, she was literally blue from head to toe, a walking testament to her midnight crime. "You can't prove I intended to swim in your pool," Karen said, her voice shaking. "I was just investigating strange lights. I thought someone might be in trouble." Emma laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "At 2:47 a.m. In your swimming attire. With your hair in a swim cap that's now permanently blue." She gestured to Karen's head, where the silicone cap had fused with the dye to create a grotesque blue skull-like appearance. The realization hit Karen like a physical blow. She reached up to touch her head, her fingers finding the dye-stained cap that she'd forgotten she was wearing. The evidence was damning, undeniable. "I'll sue you," Karen whispered, but the threat sounded hollow. "I'll sue you for everything you have." "With what lawyer?" Emma asked sweetly. "The same one who helped you file those fraudulent noise complaints. The one who's been padding your legal bills while you've been harassing half the neighborhood. Because I have documentation of everything, Karen. Every false complaint, every harassment campaign, every midnight swim in other people's pools." Karen's blue face went pale beneath the dye, a sickly greenish hue that made her look genuinely ill. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I?" Emma pulled out her phone again, scrolling through a folder labeled Evidence. "I have security footage of you in the Hendersons' pool last Tuesday. I have audio recordings of you bragging about your midnight tours. I have witness statements from 6 different neighbors about your harassment campaign against my pool project." The sound of sirens cut through the night air, growing closer. Someone had called the police. Karen's eyes widened with panic. You called the cops? I didn't have to, Emma said, gesturing toward the growing crowd of neighbors gathering on the sidewalk. Apparently, screaming at 3 a.m. in a residential neighborhood tends to attract attention. Especially when you're 24 hours after the incident, Emma Chen stood in her kitchen sipping coffee and scrolling through the neighborhood Facebook group, watching her carefully orchestrated revenge spiral into something far more dangerous than she'd anticipated. The post had 347 comments and counting. Chemical assault at Willow Creek Estates, neighbor poisons pool to harm innocent jogger. Karen's post included professional-grade photos of her blue-stained skin, taken with dramatic lighting that made her look like a victim of some horrific accident. The accompanying story painted Emma as a psychotic neighbor who'd booby-trapped her pool with industrial chemicals to harm anyone who might accidentally fall in. Accidentally, Emma muttered, screenshotting the post. Karen's narrative had conveniently omitted the 2:47 a.m. trespassing, the broken gate latch, and the security footage showing her deliberate entry. The doorbell rang, its cheerful chime cutting through Emma's growing anxiety. Through the peephole, she saw a woman in an expensive navy suit holding a briefcase, definitely not a neighbor stopping by with casserole and condolences. Emma Chen. The woman's voice was crisp and professional. I'm Victoria Sterling, representing Karen Martinez. I need to speak with you about last night's incident. Emma's stomach dropped. Karen had lawyered up fast, less than 24 hours after being arrested for trespassing. This Victoria Sterling looked like she cost more per hour than most people made in a month. I'm sorry, but I don't think we should speak without my attorney present, Emma said through the door. That's your right, Victoria replied smoothly. But I thought you might want to know that my client is filing both criminal charges and a civil lawsuit. Chemical assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and something rather interesting we discovered about your pool permits. Emma's hand froze on the deadbolt. What about my permits? Perhaps we should discuss this inside. I'm sure your neighbors are already talking enough. Against her better judgment, Emma opened the door. Victoria Sterling was younger than her voice suggested, maybe 35, with sharp features and the kind of predatory smile that suggested she enjoyed destroying people's lives for sport. Coffee? Emma offered, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy. Thank you, no. I don't expect to be here long. Victoria settled into Emma's living room like she owned it, placing her briefcase on the coffee table with practiced precision. My client has suffered significant damages. The chemical you used, methylene blue, may be food grade, as you claim, but using it to intentionally harm someone is still assault. She was trespassing, Emma said, her voice steadier than she felt. I have security footage. That shows my client investigating what appeared to be a possible emergency situation. Victoria opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Strange lights, unusual pool activity at an odd hour. Any reasonable person might have been concerned about someone drowning. Emma stared at the woman. At 2:47 a.m. In swimming attire. Exercise clothing, Victoria corrected. Ms. Martinez is an avid jogger. She regularly runs late at night for safety reasons, fewer cars, cooler temperatures. When she saw unusual activity at your pool, she investigated. The fact that she was wearing athletic wear is hardly suspicious. The lawyer's ability to spin the narrative was impressive and terrifying. Emma could see how a jury might buy this version of events, especially with Karen's new blue appearance making her look like a victim of some chemical attack. What do you want? Emma asked. Victoria smiled, and Emma felt like a rabbit who'd just realized the fox was already in the henhouse. Compensation for medical treatment, lost wages. My client has had to cancel several high-profile events due to her condition. And then there's the matter of your pool permits. What about them? It seems your pool construction violated several city ordinances. Noise restrictions, setback requirements, and most interestingly, chemical storage and handling permits. You're required to have special licensing to use methylene blue in a residential setting, even if it's a food grade. Emma's blood ran cold. She'd been so focused on the trespassing aspect that she hadn't considered the legal implications of using the dye. That's ridiculous. It's a harmless chemical, harmless. Victoria pulled out her phone, showing Emma a video. It was Karen, 3 hours earlier, speaking to a news camera in her backyard. The reporter's voice was audible in the background. Channel 7 News investigation into dangerous chemical weapons being used in suburban neighborhoods. You called the media. Emma's voice came out strangled. My client is a public figure. The charity gala she missed last night. She was the keynote speaker. The Preston wedding this weekend. She's the wedding planner. Her reputation is her livelihood, and you've destroyed it. Emma sank into her chair, watching Karen on the phone screen. Even blue, she was articulate and sympathetic, describing her ordeal with the practiced ease of someone who'd been manipulating public opinion for years. But here's the interesting part, Victoria continued, pausing the video. My client did some research after her arrest. It turns out you've been planning this for months. The methylene blue purchase, the security system upgrades, the modified gate latch designed to appear broken when forced. Emma's mouth went dry. How could you possibly know? Credit card records, email receipts, Amazon purchase history. You'd be amazed what a good private investigator can uncover in 18 hours. Victoria leaned forward, her smile turning predatory. You documented everything, Emma. Every purchase, every modification, every step of your elaborate revenge plot. The room felt like it was spinning. Emma had been so careful, so methodical, but in her attention to detail, she'd created a perfect paper trail of premeditation. So here's what's going to happen, Victoria continued, her voice taking on the tone of someone delivering a death sentence. You're going to pay for my client's medical treatment, her lost income, and her pain and suffering. You're going to publicly apologize and admit that you set a trap designed to harm anyone who might enter your pool area. And you're going to tear down your illegal pool. Illegal? Emma's voice cracked. The permit violations we found are extensive. Your pool exceeds the allowed size for your lot, violates setback requirements, and the chemical storage setup you created for your little trap violates about 6 different city codes. The city is already preparing to red tag your property. Emma felt the walls closing in. This wasn't just about Karen anymore, this was about losing everything. Her dream pool, her reputation, possibly her house. And if you refuse? Victoria's smile widened. Then we go to trial. My client becomes the face of chemical assault in suburbia. You become the neighborhood psychopath who poisoned her pool to harm innocent people. The media coverage alone will destroy your life, and when we win, and we will win, you'll pay triple damages plus legal fees. The sound of a car door slamming echoed from the driveway. Through the window, Emma saw David getting out of his car, his face grim. He was supposed to be at work for another 3 hours. My husband, Emma whispered. Yes, about that, Victoria said, glancing at her watch. I had a very interesting conversation with David's employer this morning. Apparently, having a spouse involved in a chemical assault case raises some concerns about security clearance and public trust. Government contractors are funny that way. Emma's world tilted. David worked for a defense contractor, and his security clearance was essential to his job. If he lost it because of her actions, you're destroying my entire life, Emma said. The words barely audible. I'm representing my client's interests, Victoria replied, standing as David's key turned in the front door. You had choices, Emma. You chose revenge over reason. Actions have consequences. David entered the living room, his face pale and exhausted. Emma, we need to talk. My supervisor called me in for a meeting. He stopped, noticing Victoria. Who's this? Victoria Sterling, attorney for Karen Martinez, Victoria said, extending her hand. I was just explaining to your wife the legal ramifications of her actions. David's face went ashen. Legal ramifications? Your wife faces potential criminal charges for assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and violation of multiple city codes. There's also the matter of the civil lawsuit seeking damages in excess of $200,000. Emma watched her husband's face crumble as the number sank in. $200,000. Their savings, their retirement, their children's college funds, all of it gone because of her need for revenge. Emma, David's voice was barely a whisper. What did you do? Victoria gathered her papers with practiced efficiency. I'll give you 48 hours to consider my client's offer. After that, we file both the criminal complaint and the civil suit. The media attention alone will be as significant. She paused at the door, her hand on the knob. Oh, and Emma. You might want to check your security system. It seems someone has been conducting their own surveillance of your property. Fair is fair, after all. The door closed with a soft click, leaving Emma and David standing in the wreckage of their living room, their marriage, their future. The security system? David asked, his voice hollow. Emma grabbed her phone, pulling up the app. Her blood turned to ice as she scrolled through the alerts. Multiple cameras had been triggered throughout the previous night and morning, but no. Emma stared at the photograph on her phone screen, her mind reeling. The image showed David's computer displaying classified defense contractor emails taken from inside their home office. The timestamp proved Karen had been inside their house while they were sleeping, just hours before the pool incident. This is impossible, David whispered, leaning over Emma's shoulder to study the photo. That's my secure workstation. It's password protected, encrypted, and it automatically locks after 5 minutes of inactivity. Emma's blood turned to ice. As another text arrived, password, Emma 2019 pool. Your anniversary plus your pool project start date. You really should use more complex passwords for classified systems, David. David's face went white. How could she possibly know the barbecue, Emma said, the pieces clicking together like a nightmare puzzle. Last month, when she was asking about our anniversary, she said she was planning something special for her own husband. And the pool project, I mentioned the start date, David finished, his voice hollow. She asked when we broke ground, said she was thinking about adding a pool herself. I thought she was just making conversation. Emma's hands shook as she scrolled through more photos. Karen had documented everything, David's work schedule posted on the refrigerator, Emma's medication bottles in the bathroom cabinet, even their financial documents spread across the dining room table from last week's budget meeting. She's been collecting intelligence on us for months, Emma said. This whole thing, the noise complaints, the permit issues, even the midnight swimming. She was building a profile, learning our weaknesses. David grabbed his work laptop, frantically checking the security logs. If she accessed my system, if she copied anything classified, this isn't just about my job. This is a federal crime. People go to prison for this kind of breach. The phone rang, David's work number flashing on the screen. Emma watched her husband's face crumble as he answered. David Chen. Yes, sir, I understand. No, I have no idea how. I'll be there immediately. He hung up, his hand trembling. They are suspending my security clearance pending investigation. Someone reported a potential breach of classified information. Someone. Emma's voice was barely audible. Anonymous tip to the FBI. They are sending agents to the house this afternoon. Emma felt the room spinning. This was exactly what Karen wanted, total destruction, not just of their reputation or finances, but of their entire lives. The blue dye had been theater, a distraction from the real crime being committed. Her phone buzzed with another text, conference call in 5 minutes. Join or the FBI gets some very interesting photos of classified documents. Link attached. The video call link appeared below the message, along with a preview image that made Emma's stomach lurch. It showed David's computer screen displaying what appeared to be classified military contractor specifications, with Karen's blue-stained hand visible in the foreground, clearly indicating she'd been the one taking the photo. She's blackmailing us, Emma said, showing David the screen. She wants us to join a video call or she sends evidence to the FBI. Evidence of what? I never gave her access to classified information. She broke into our house, she committed espionage with photos that show her inside our home while you were logged into classified systems, Emma interrupted. How does that look to investigators? Your wife gets caught setting chemical traps for neighbors and suddenly classified information is being photographed by the same woman. David's face went ashen as the implication sank in. They'll think I gave her access. They'll think we are working together. Emma's finger hovered over the video call link. We don't have a choice. The call connected immediately, Karen's blue face filling the screen. Even through the digital medium, the dye's effect was striking and surreal. She sat in what appeared to be a professional office, her transformed appearance somehow making her seem more dangerous, like a predator that had shed its camouflage. Hello, Emma. David. Karen's voice was calm, almost cheerful. I trust you've had time to review the photographs. What do you want? Emma asked, her voice tight with controlled rage. Justice, Karen replied simply. You thought you could humiliate me, destroy my reputation, cost me thousands in lost income. But you made one crucial mistake. You underestimated me. David leaned into the camera frame. You broke into our house. You accessed classified information. That's espionage, Karen. That's a federal crime. Karen's blue lips curved into a smile. Is it? Or did I simply document evidence of security violations in your home? Those photos show classified information displayed on an unsecured system in a house with compromised security, accessed by someone who clearly has anger management issues. She gestured to her blue skin. Would you trust this person with national security? You're insane, Emma said. I'm thorough, Karen corrected. Did you really think I'd just let you poison me and walk away? I've been planning this for months. Emma. Every permit challenge, every noise complaint, every interaction we've had, it was all building to this moment. Emma's mind raced. The midnight swimming stories. You never actually swam in other people's pools. You were just establishing a pattern, creating a believable reason for trespassing. Very good, Karen said, her tone patronizing. I needed you to feel confident in your trap. I needed you to think you were the predator. But the truth is, I've been studying you since you moved to this neighborhood. Your routines, your security system, your husband's work schedule, your marriage problems. We don't have marriage problems, David interrupted. Karen's laugh was cold and sharp. The arguments about money. The stress over the pool project. Emma's sleeping pills that leave her unconscious for 8 hours straight. David's habit of working late in his office with the door closed. I've been watching you both for months. I know this household better than you do. Emma felt violated in a way that went beyond physical intrusion. Karen had been studying them like lab rats, documenting their private moments, their vulnerabilities, their secrets. The FBI will see through this, Emma said. They'll realize you're blackmailing us. Will they? Karen tilted her head, still smiling. Or will they see a defense contractor with compromised security, a chemically unstable wife, and a pattern of poor judgment? Especially when they discover that David's been selling classified information to foreign buyers. David shot forward in his chair. That's a lie. Is it? Karen's smile widened. Check your bank accounts, David. Specifically, the offshore account. That was opened in your name 3 months ago. The one that's received several large deposits from shell companies with ties to foreign intelligence services. Emma watched her husband's face go from anger to confusion to pure terror as he grabbed his phone and started checking his banking apps. That's impossible, David muttered, frantically scrolling through account information. I never opened any. Offshore, his voice stopped abruptly. You found it, Karen said, her voice sing-song. $50,000 in deposits over the past 3 months. All perfectly documented, all traceable to your social security number and personal information. Emma leaned over to look at David's phone. There it was, an account in his name, with a balance that made her sick. How is this possible? Identity theft is remarkably easy when you have access to someone's home for months, Karen explained. Social security numbers, birth certificates, tax returns, you'd be amazed what people leave lying around. And setting up offshore accounts. Child's play when you have the right information. David's hands were shaking. The FBI will know this is fraudulent. They'll investigate, and while they investigate, you'll be in federal prison, Karen interrupted. Pending investigation of espionage charges. Do you know what happens to defense contractors accused of selling secrets to foreign governments? Even if you're eventually cleared, your career is over. Your security clearance is permanently revoked. Your reputation is destroyed. Emma felt the trap closing around them completely. Karen hadn't just planned revenge, she'd planned their total annihilation. The blue dye had been a distraction, a way to make herself look like the victim while she systematically destroyed their lives. What do you want? Emma asked again. Her voice barely a whisper. Karen's expression turned serious, businesslike. I want you to confess. Publicly. I want you to admit that you've been working with me to sell classified information, that the pool incident was a lover's quarrel gone wrong, and that David has been feeding me secrets for months. That's insane. David said. No one would believe your wife attacked me with chemical weapons, Karen interrupted. You have classified information on unsecured systems. You have unexplained offshore accounts. I have documentation of everything, including audio recordings of our conversations about sensitive projects. She held up a small recording device. Amazing what people will discuss when they think they are just making neighborly conversation. Emma's blood ran cold. She remembered David talking about his work projects during neighborhood gatherings, casual mentions of contracts and timelines. Information that seemed harmless in context but could be devastating when recorded and edited. You've been recording us for months, Emma said. I told you I'm thorough, Karen replied. I have documentation of everything. Financial records, security breaches, classified information, personal co. Emma had exactly 90 minutes before the FBI arrived at her door. 90 minutes to dismantle months of Karen's careful planning and turn the predator into prey. She moved through her house with surgical precision, David trailing behind her. Like a man watching his wife transform into someone he'd never seen before. First, we secure the evidence, Emma said, pulling out her laptop and connecting it to their security system's main server. Karen thinks she's been clever, but every single break-in, every illegal entry, every moment she's been in our house, it's all documented in 4K resolution with timestamps. David watched as Emma's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up months of security footage. Emma, even with video evidence, she has classified information. She has fake bank accounts in my name. The FBI isn't going to care about trespassing when they think I'm selling state secrets. They will when they see this, Emma said, freezing the video on a frame that made David's jaw drop. The timestamp showed 3:17 a.m., 2 days after the pool incident. Karen, still blue-stained but now wearing black tactical gear, was crouched over David's computer in his home office, a professional camera in her hands as she photographed the screen. She came back, David whispered. After the arrest. After the lawyers, she came back and staged the classified information photos. Emma nodded grimly. She needed the photos to look recent, to make it seem like you were actively sharing information. But look at this, she pointed to the corner of the screen where David's computer displayed the date and time. Your system shows 3:17 a.m., but the classified documents she photographed are timestamped from 3 days earlier. She was photographing old emails, making it look like ongoing activity. David leaned closer, studying the screen. And look at her equipment. That's not a phone camera, that's professional surveillance gear. Military grade. How does a suburban housewife get access to equipment like that? Emma was already pulling up more footage, her mind racing. Karen's not just a housewife. She's been too prepared, too sophisticated. The surveillance equipment, the identity theft, the offshore accounts, this isn't amateur hour revenge. This is professional. She pulled up the neighborhood directory on her phone, scrolling to Karen's listing. Karen Martinez, married to Robert Martinez, real estate developer. But look at this, she showed David the screen. Robert Martinez doesn't exist in any business records. No LLC, no construction permits, no real estate licenses. Their whole identity in this neighborhood is fabricated. David's eyes widened. You think she's some kind of spy? I think she's a criminal, Emma said, her voice hardening. And I think we stumbled into something much bigger than neighborhood drama when I decided to dye her blue. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Tick-tock, Emma. 75 minutes until your confession or the FBI gets their evidence. Choose wisely. K. Instead of fear, Emma felt a surge of cold satisfaction. She's nervous. She's checking on us because she knows we should be panicking by now. Emma quickly typed back, "We need to meet. 1 hour, neutral location. I have a counteroffer." The response came immediately, "No deals. Confession only." Emma smiled grimly and typed, "Check. Your email. I think you'll change your mind." She quickly assembled a video file from the security footage, Karen's break-ins, her professional photography equipment, her systematic documentation of their home. She attached it to an email with the subject line, "Professional criminal activity. Federal charges pending." Her phone rang within 30 seconds. "You have 15 minutes, Karen's voice was ice cold. "Willow Creek Park, South parking lot. Come alone." Emma looked at David, seeing the fear in his eyes. "I'm not letting you go alone. She's dangerous." "She's trapped," Emma corrected. "And she knows it." "But David, I need you to do something while I'm gone. Call Agent Sarah Morrison at the FBI." "The FBI? Emma, they are coming to arrest us." "Sarah Morrison is David's sister," Emma interrupted. "Your sister who works cybercrime division. The sister you haven't spoken to in 3 years because of that stupid argument about Mom's funeral arrangements." David's face went pale. "Sarah won't help us. She's still angry." "She's FBI," Emma said firmly. "And she'll recognize professional espionage when she sees it. Send her the security footage, the equipment analysis, everything. Tell her you need her help not as your sister, but as a federal agent investigating a national security breach." David nodded slowly. "And if she refuses?" Emma was already grabbing her keys. "Then we are fucked. But if she agrees, we have the FBI investigating Karen instead of us." 15 minutes later, Emma sat in her car in the park south lot, watching Karen approach. The blue dye had faded slightly, but Karen still looked like an alien creature. Her skin an unnatural azure that caught the afternoon sunlight in disturbing ways. Karen slid into the passenger seat without invitation, her movements fluid and predatory. "You have 5 minutes to explain why I shouldn't destroy your life." "Because you're not Karen Martinez," Emma said calmly. "You're not a housewife from suburbia. You're a professional criminal and you made the mistake of choosing the wrong target." Karen's expression didn't change, but Emma caught the slight tension in her shoulders. "I don't know what you're talking about. Military-grade surveillance. Equipment. Professional identity theft. Sophisticated financial fraud. You're running a long-term operation and my pool project got in your way." Emma pulled out her phone, showing Karen the security footage. "This isn't revenge. This is you cleaning up a problem that threatened to expose your real activities." Karen studied the video, her blue face expressionless. "Interesting theory. Prove it." Emma smiled. "I don't have to. Agent Sarah Morrison is already investigating. FBI Cybercrime Division. She's very interested in the professional equipment you've been using, the fake identities, the offshore accounts. Turns out, there's a whole task force looking for someone matching your profile." For the first time since this nightmare began, Emma saw genuine fear flicker across Karen's face. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Emma showed her phone screen again, this time displaying a text from David, "Sarah's in full federal investigation authorized. Karen Martinez flagged in FBI database as person of interest in multiple ongoing cases." Karen's composure cracked. "That's impossible." "I've been careful. You've been operating in the same area for too long," Emma interrupted. "The FBI has been tracking a pattern of identity theft, financial fraud, and espionage activities in suburban neighborhoods. Professional criminals who embed themselves in communities for months, targeting specific individuals with access to sensitive information." Karen's hand moved toward her purse, but Emma was faster, grabbing her wrist. "I wouldn't. This entire conversation is being recorded and transmitted to federal agents. Any violence against me becomes part of your federal charges." Karen jerked her hand away, her blue face twisted with rage. You have no idea what you're interfering with. I know you've been running this scam for years, Emma said. Moving from neighborhood to neighborhood, targeting defense contractors, government employees, anyone with access to valuable information. You embed yourself, gather intelligence, create compromising situations, then disappear with whatever you've stolen. And you think your little pull trap ruined my operation? Karen's voice was bitter. I think my pull trap forced you to deviate from your plan, Emma replied. You couldn't just disappear quietly. You had to get revenge, and revenge made you sloppy. The blue dye made you visible, memorable. The media coverage put you in the spotlight when you needed to stay hidden. Karen stared at her, and Emma could see the calculation in her eyes. What do you want? I want you to confess, Emma said. Not to pull trespassing or chemical assault. I want you to confess to federal crimes. Identity theft, espionage, fraud. I want you to tell Agent Morrison about your real operation. Karen laughed, a sound like breaking glass. And why would I do that? Emma's smile was cold as winter. Because if you don't, the FBI is going to find out anyway. They are already investigating you. But if you cooperate, if you help them shut down whatever network you're part of, you might avoid life in prison. You're assuming I'm part of a network, Karen said carefully. I'm assuming you're smart enough to know when you're caught, Emma replied. The question is, do you want to go down alone, or do you want to take your handlers with you? Karen's expression shifted, fear replacing calculation. You don't understand. If I confess, if I expose them, they'll kill me. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. This was bigger than she'd imagined. Then you better hope federal protection is better than whatever they are offering you. Karen's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went white beneath the blue stain. They know. They know about this meeting. Who knows? Emma asked, but Karen was already opening the car door. Get out of here, Karen said, her voice urgent. Get your husband and get out of your house. Now. Karen, what's happening? They are coming to clean up the mess, Karen said, stepping out of the car. And that includes you, me, and anyone else who knows about this operation. Emma watched Karen walk away, her blue figure disappearing into the park's tree line. She fumbled for her phone, calling David with shaking fingers. David. Get out of the house. Now. Don't ask questions, just grab the important documents and get to your sister's office.